Hi, Assalamualaikum and everyone. So welcome to all the participants. And we would like to say so much thanks for joining us today. Again, we are breaking the new records in which 142 currently the active participants for this tea and cookie session 4. And again, would like to say thank you so much. And now we would like, before we start the session, we would like to invite our marketing assistant, which is Mr. Rahim Jamil, to recite the surah.
Thank you, Bella. Assalamualaikum, everyone. Before we proceed to our event today, I would like to invite all Muslims to recite together Kitab Surah Al-Fatihah. A'udzubillahi minasyaitonirrajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Ar-Rahmanir-Rahim. Maliki yaumiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdinas siratal mustaqim. صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. Amen. Hope Allah will bless and guide our program, run smoothly and achieve the objective, inshallah. Back to you, Bella.
All right, thank you so much, Rahim. So, without wasting any more time, before we invite our speaker, I would like to invite our president, which is Anik Inam, to give a little bit welcoming speech.
Okay, thank you so much, Bella, for inviting me for the speech, and thank you so much, everybody, all of the participants, our speaker, and especially I want to thank Associate Professor Dr. Bani Irfin Amin Nuruddin he came here and graced our session, and thank you so much for coming, Doctor. And first of all, I would like to say that the executive committee of 2021, they are working very hard day and night to deliver their best for all of the postgraduate students, and to spread the name of our club and our institution to the entire world. And I'm happy that they are doing so well, and I hope that we will do more of such kind of sessions, which will not only benefit our students but also create the market for the entire world as well. So yes, I will not take too much time. I just wanted to say that thank you so much, Dr. Nick Mohammed Hazrul Nick Hashim, who came here and who came here to deliver a session about moderator and research, and the topic is very interesting, which he will share today. So before going to the speaker, I would like to invite our dean, Associate Professor Dr. Bani, please share some comments for us and for the session. Please, Doctor, can you please share some comments?
All right. Can you hear me?
Yep. Yes, Doctor.
Doctor, we can hear you.
All right, great. First of all, right, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, Assalamualaikum, Selamat Sejahtera, and afternoon. Okay, so first of all, I would like to say thanks to the organizing committee for inviting me to give a short note, or to say something. Thank you, appreciate that. Secondly, I want to congratulate the organizing committee for for coming up with this event. I think it is a good one. It is a good event. It's a good event because events such as this will actually give an added knowledge to students. Okay, added knowledge to students, because not everybody is familiar with the moderating methodology. Okay, so this is something new, something that most of you can pick up, and use it in your thesis, okay, your PhD or your master's thesis. And for those who are familiar with it, this such program will enhance your knowledge even more. Okay, remember, starting PhD or master's is just a starting point. Okay, that's for you all. So after this, okay, if you decide to go into academic line, PhD is a starting point. So there'll be a long more journey for this for you. Okay. I want to say thank you also to the speaker, Dr. Nick Muhammad. You look familiar. have we bumped into each other before? I mean,
yeah. We used to play squash together, remember? About 10 years ago.
okay.
All right.
Okay.
No.
Tak ingat.
Oh, but you played squash, right? Right?
Yeah, I play squash.
Yeah. Haji Arif and all that, right?
Arif, Probaka, TNC.
Exactly, yes.
Okay.
I remember you were there. He's a quite a challenging player.
Okay, good. All right, good. Nice to see you again. Okay, Prof. Nick Muhammad, yeah. Okay, so thank you lah for agreeing to be part of this program. Okay, and appreciate if you can come back again in the future to give such talk again, yeah. On the topic that you have decided to say something on, which is moderating factor, I'm almost so fond of that topic. I like that topic. To let you know that in a few of my papers, actually, I've used this technique, and it has been successful. It has been successful for me to penetrate few good journals. And I'm still learning, but okay, of course, appreciate lah if you can provide this knowledge to all of us, right?
Inshallah.
Okay.
Just a little.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much again to all. Congratulations for having this wonderful event. Thank you. Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.
Thank you so much, Doctor.
Yeah.
All right, thank you so much. So we are so honored actually. We are having our Dean, Prof. Bani, with us here today. So before we start, I would like to say a few background about our speaker, which is Associate Professor Dr. Nick Muhammad Hazrul. So Doctor is an Associate Professor of Marketing at UKM Graduate School of Business. Right. So he has more than 20 years of experience as an academician, including a casual teaching stint in Australia. He holds a PhD in marketing from the University of Melbourne, MBA from Ohio University, and BBA from Washington State University. So basically, Prof also is particularly proficient in multiple moderation analysis using syntax and adopts a novel approach to conducting research that essentially streamlines or simplifies the whole research process without foregoing academic rigor and quality. So I think it's so much interesting background about our speaker today. Without any further, I would like to ask Dr. Nick Muhammad Hazrul to deliver the speech. Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you so much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Very good afternoon. Really, we have classes in the afternoon or at night here at UKM. So it's something new to me. And normally my classes are small. It's normally lower than 20 students. But this time we have altogether so far almost reaching 180. So it's going to be interesting, inshallah. So allow me to share my slide. Sebelum itu minta izin daripada dekan from the dean. May I have your permission, please?
Yes. You don't mind if I stay on for a few minutes?
Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, no problem. It's even more motivating for me as well to have you around.
All right, great.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Okay, just to ensure everybody can see my screen, right?
Yes, Doctor.
Yes, teacher.
Let's proceed.
Yes, Doctor.
So I did my PhD in Melbourne University. Just a little bit of background before we get into things. Under a professor, his name is Professor Brian Lucas. But he's now in Manchester University in the UK. Back in 2005, so I did my PhD for 3 years. And then after my PhD, he came to Malaysia, which is very rare. And we worked together on publishing papers for maybe another 3 years. So it took me 3 years to do my PhD, and then an additional another 3 more years to learn how to publish papers. So I was very fortunate to have Brian as my supervisor. I managed to learn quite a lot under him, under his supervision. And I'm here now to share with you a little bit about the knowledge that I've actually learned from my supervisor, Brian Lucas. And he's an expert in moderators, not mediators, with moderators. He doesn't have any papers with mediators. So he actually focuses on moderators, and alhamdulillah, I managed to learn a thing or two about moderators as well. And inshallah, hopefully, inshallah, the session that we're going to have this afternoon is going to benefit you. Since the graduate school club, what is the session is all about tea and cookies, so I decided to use something similar to this as a marketing person, as a marketing lecturer as well. So just to attract the participants to participate in this session. So that's why I decided to use the cake, icing, and cherry, just to complement what you have there, okay, with your sessions, your weekly sessions there, okay. I think everybody is really eager to see what's going on, what's actually the cake, okay, what is actually the icing, and ultimately the cherry, okay, involved. And all these, okay, will be related to the moderators. Okay, so bear in mind, I'm going to start off my talk with a general aspect about research, and I'm going to introduce a little bit of my technique. It's called novel research approach. Inshallah, soon after that, I'm going to get into the moderators and reveal what all these are all about. Here are some of the highlights that I intend to share with you. First of all, about the novel research approach, which was actually taught to me by my supervisor, by Brian. He's actually the person who actually invented this method. It's a different method altogether, okay, in how to conducting research. Normally, when you conduct research, you will go through the normal process where you have to identify the issues and read a lot of journal articles, through literature reviews. Some professors require the students to read up to 100 to 200 journal articles before coming up with a topic and all that. But for your information, this is a totally new and different approach. Okay, and I'm going to introduce this a little bit today, but for you to really understand that, of course, you need to sit in my workshops later on, maybe for about 3 days and so forth. But today, I was only given about 2 hours to do this. Normally, I would take about 3 hours to touch on this topic, but I tried to condense everything to 2 hours. So I might sound a little bit fast in my speech, but I'll try to slow down and relax a bit. I like to be relaxed, but I'll try to mess, because there's a lot of things for me to cover here. Okay, so the second one that I want to share and reveal to you today is about the heart of research. All these terminologies, I don't think you are familiar with. You've never heard them before, because of the new technique that I have. So they are all embedded in this technique. So later on, we're going to have try to actually discover which of all the process, the stages of research, which one is actually the heart of research. What I mean the heart of research is, if you manage to identify this, okay, it's like the heart. It provides the blood to all parts of the body. So if you manage to identify this aspect of the process, inshallah, the other aspects of research will flow in smoothly. Okay, so we're going to touch on that shortly. And then definitely the whole thing about our talk today is about moderators. So definitely I'm going to show you about moderators, and maybe a little bit of recap what moderators are. But of course, this is a very difficult topic. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to simplify the whole thing, inshallah, within these 2 hours. And of course, the main objective of today's talk, which is about the cherry, and I call this the secret of secrets in research. Okay, in order for you to get into the top journals, okay, normally, okay, this is what Brian mentioned to me. Normally, you will have to actually have a certain characteristic of a study within your study that that somehow surprises the reviewers. Okay, and that's something that I'm going to share, inshallah, and I call this the cherry on top. You don't have many. You have a cake, you normally have 1 or 2 cherries on top only, right? So you need that particular one if you want to get into the top journals, inshallah. And finally, when after sharing the cherry, inshallah, you will see how we can condense everything, the whole research, okay, in only in pieces of paper. Okay, it's going to be quite amazing. But hopefully I'll be able to actually try to communicate this with you in the most simpler terms. All right, and finally, we're going to have the Q&A session. Okay, the PhD. If you have any PhD student, they will have their own stories that they will tell about the challenges, what is this, the memories that they have with the PhD. Everybody has their own unique experience that they go throughout the journey. And of course, it is the highest level of education. And everybody knows that doing a PhD is not easy. It's going to take years to do that. Very rare that you can actually complete within 3 years. Okay. But that's it. If I give you 3 hours, inshallah, you'll be able to talk about this. Okay, your problems and your challenges that you go through. So I had my own challenges as well. So when I was in Melbourne University, I have quite a number, but the two that I can remember most is I actually failed one of the subjects that I took when I was in Melbourne University. You have to go through a course, work for about 2 semesters, and you're going to have about maybe about 10 professors coming in to give you a talk, and for each of the professors, they will give you an examination for each semester. And I failed one subject. And over there in Australia, in Melbourne University, the passing grade is 80%. So you have to pass 80% in order for you to actually pass the subject. Okay, research methodology. So I failed the subject. And what happened that I was already, okay, I was packing my bag already that night. And luckily my head of a PhD program contacted me, and she asked me, okay, Nick, what is your justification for you answering? Because when I took an examination, the question is either A or B. Okay, there's no right or wrong answer. So what I did is that actually, okay, no, both can work. A and B can work within a certain condition. It depends on certain things. So the professor was not agreeable to that. He only wanted either A or B. That's why I feel that's the examination. But then I actually gave my justification why I decided to answer A and B together. It's because I've been trained by my supervisor, okay, using moderators. But if you use moderators, okay, it's called conditional factors. So not all things will work in a certain condition, in all conditions. It has certain conditions that a particular strategy, for example, will be effective, and another strategy, for example, will be effective. So the conditional factor is called moderators. So I applied that, what I learned, what my supervisor taught me, I applied that in my examination for the research methods. And alhamdulillah, I was very fortunate. The examiner and also the professor who gave the examination also, he said, okay, in that case, I pass you. I was very lucky to actually gone through that, to pass and finally got my PhD. Okay, so that's one of my challenges that I faced throughout my PhD. There's a few more, but that's the most important one. I think it's related to moderators. And we're gonna move next, okay, to the next slide, which is about the research process, the academic research process nowadays. So don't worry about this. I'm not going to explain all this. It's very detailed. The most important thing that I want you to actually pay attention is the one, okay, in the colors, the red, blue, and green. When you do a PhD, okay, there are 3 aspects that you have to fulfill as a PhD student before you get that degree. Of course, in your first year, you need to come up with your proposal. Okay, and of course, within that duration as well, you have to continue and polish up your thesis, which is number 2, until you complete the whole thing. You do the data collection, you do your literature review and all that, all there, everybody knows about that. But that third one there, this is a new requirement, okay, and I think all universities in Malaysia applies, that PhD students, whether PhD or DB students, need to publish, okay, before they are awarded the PhD degree. And in UKM, they have to publish 2 journal articles in an indexed journal. And this is another challenge that PhD students are facing. And not only they have to spend the time doing the thesis, but also have to publish, okay, at the same time within 3, maybe 4, maybe even 5 years. Okay, and that challenge to publish a paper is something that all PhD students have to be aware of from the first day of the studies. Okay, so you have to know, you have to bear in mind that publishing papers is not easy. Okay, there's an issue nowadays where you have a lot of PhD students, including lecturers who publish in predatory journals. Okay, is a hot is a pressing issue nowadays. Everybody knows about this. And getting into the top journals, okay, is the way forward. Okay, but how to do that? It's not easy. Even for me to even publish one journal in ICI in WOS, it would take 1 year, sometimes 2 years to get even one paper out. Okay, but you need certain criteria for you to actually fulfill in order for the reviewers to at least see your paper as a potential to be published first. Okay, and it goes through the review process, and then inshallah, if they like it, then inshallah it's going to get published. So one of the main aspects of getting published into top journals, okay, is to include moderators and mediators into the models, into the conceptual frameworks. Okay, it's hard for you to get into top journals with direct effects, meaning that you have IVs and DVs only. Okay, and normally the requirement and normally the expect is to have, they will expect to have a higher level models, and one of them is through moderators. So that's why my supervisor Brian focuses purely on moderating effects. Okay, you can also focus on mediators as well, but since I've been trained with moderators, I'm going to show you about moderators only. Okay, but my advice to you is not to include both together in your model, mediators and mediators and moderators together. It's going to be a bit challenging for you to do that. Okay. Now let me put it this way: the academic research is very high in terms of standard, and it has been all the way, it has been like that for hundreds of years. And somehow we know that, okay, in order for you to get a PhD and to publish into top journals, it is going to be very hard. Okay, but I was very fortunate, okay, to be under Brian, which actually introduced to me a new method of doing research. Okay, so I'm going to introduce a little bit of this technique, but of course you need to go through maybe perhaps 3 whole days to really understand what it is all about. But just to give a preview of the technique, okay? So over here, life is easy. It's actually really simple, but somehow we insist on making it complicated because maybe perhaps there's no method. They have not found actually the method to making it more simple. So somewhere out there, you see this small kid. He's looking at the sky at night, at the stars. Hopefully he can see maybe a shooting star somewhere, hopefully. So somewhere out there, something incredible is waiting to be known, waiting to be discovered. And inshallah, hopefully I'll be able to share something with you and fulfill this criteria, okay? Now, before I get into the technique, let me show you my supervisor. This is a picture of Brian Lucas. Okay, he's in Manchester University now. He was in Melbourne University, but he decided to move there in Australia because for his kids. He's actually in demand. He told me if I want to go to any university, I can. Because he only publishes in top journals, so he's very renowned out there among academicians. He's the reviewer for, he's one of the chairs, not the chair, but with one of the committees for Journal of Marketing, Journal of Academy Marketing Science, Journal of International Business Studies, all the top journals. So what's amazing about Brian is that if you go to his room, you will not even see a single textbook in his room. So I remember walking into his room and said, Brian, why don't you have any textbook there in your room? Because his main focus is on to publish journal articles in the top journals. See, if you look at his shelves, there are all journal articles, full of journal articles and well arranged. He's a German, by the way. And his expectation is very, very high. I still can remember when I first met him, the first word or the first thing he greeted me with is that, Nick, do you know where you are? I still can remember up to now. Yeah, Brian, I'm in Melbourne University. Okay, Melbourne University. Do you know the ranking of Melbourne University at that time? I said, I'm not that familiar, Brian, but I know Melbourne is a very, very good university. Yes, currently we're at number 9. At that time, it's 2005. Okay, in the rankings of university, they were number 9. So when he said those words, I know that okay, his expectation is going to be very high. Then immediately he said, Nick, follow me. And then I followed him, and he introduced me to one of his PhD students. He opened up one door right in front of his room and said, Nick, this is Jeremy. Okay, he is my best student because he comes to office every day. Well, he just only said those simple words, but immediately I can capture that this is what he is actually expecting from me as well. Okay, Nick, you're gonna be in the same room with Jeremy. Okay, so I was there right in front of Brian's room with his best student. So you know, the feeling at that time was just overwhelming. Happy at the same time, but at the same, sorry, happy at one point, but at the same time was worried because of the expectation that he has. Okay, so that's a little bit of my experience, first experience meeting Brian. But he introduced to me to this approach, a new research, and he did not actually he didn't have any name for it. Okay, and he only introduces this method to his PhD students. So he has maybe around 15 students. At that time, he only had 4, but altogether now I think around 15 or somewhere around that number. But he only teaches his students this technique, and he has never actually taught it to the public before or revealed it to anybody else. So remember when I mentioned to you that after I got my PhD, he did not allow me to publish any papers during my PhD. He said, Nick, we'll work on papers after you graduated. So he came to Malaysia every 4 months. It used to be a Hotel Aquatorial at Bangi, but now it's Bangi. And he used to there every 4 months. He will come over and we will work on papers for journal publication. And I actually, because I think the method that he has is very unique, is very, very unusual, and I think will help a lot of PhD students. I actually asked permission from Brian to actually share this with other students. And he said, Nick, go ahead. You can share that. If you want to make a book with it, go ahead. You have my permission. You have my green light. So I was given the permission. And the first thing that I did is try to find a name for it. So I tried to find a few names, systematic approach and so many others. But I felt that this is a very unique and really innovative method. So I decided to use the word, okay, novel. So the novel research approach. Coincidentally, later on, novel corona arrived. So just coincidentally, right? So here I am. I'm having this technique. I've been sharing this technique with my students, my PhD students over there in UKM, and as well as other students in GSB as well. Even including finance students. I have quite a number of finance students who actually published with me. Economics as well. Now it's your turn, inshallah. I'm going to share this a little bit with you guys. But of course, for you to really understand it, you have to go through the whole process. And I can, inshallah, give this knowledge within 3 days, inshallah. So people will say it's impossible to do that, but I've done it, inshallah, 3 days. So you can get this knowledge, inshallah. But today, this is only a snippet, just only a preview of what is all about, all right? Just only the basic fundamentals of the novel research approach. Okay, so far I've been able to publish more than around 35 journals with students using this method, and they've actually sat in my research methods class that I conduct here in UKM, and only took me normally about 4 to maybe 5 days. Then inshallah we've been working on it, and some of the students were very eager, and they ended up publishing with me using this method, inshallah. Okay. Now, these are some of the basic principles of the noble approach. I've gone through this already. It's a very simplified method, very, very new, innovative, new to the world. Okay, though it somehow streamlines the research, but it does not sacrifice in terms of quality. So quality still remains, and that's the main focus of the novel approach, is to make sure that the quality is there. Okay, and in order for you to get into the top journals, and inshallah to get your PhD, and when you sit in your viva, inshallah, the examiners will be happy to see your research at that level, meeting that standard that is required. Comprehensive. Okay, if you attend, for example, other workshops or methodology workshops, normally is segregated. You attend a workshop on literature review. You attend another workshop, perhaps maybe in SEM, BLS SEM. Another workshop on developing questionnaires. If you come to my workshop, inshallah, later on, okay, the whole 3 days, the whole thing, I'm going to teach you A to Z, even up to data analysis. Of course, we have to wait maybe for about 3 weeks for you to get your data, but you will come back. Inshallah, we'll run your data together using a method is called syntax, a hidden application within SPSS. Okay, it's within, it's like a computer, it's like a computer language that you can use in SPSS. Just simply have to type it up. It's going to take maybe about half an hour for you to type it up, but then later on, it's just a matter of highlighting it. You press on the button, the results will come out immediately. All right. Now, amazing thing about this method is that the final write-up is exactly the same, though the research process is different. Okay, we start from a different starting point. I don't have the topic. I don't need to start with the literature review. I don't have to start within the issue. There's a method to doing that, but the whole thing is actually the same. The whole process, the research looks exactly the same. It's identical. Of course, you need to have experience for you to really understand this first. So, and a proper guidance to go through. So I had Brian to teach me. So who was ever interested later on, inshallah, I'll be more than happy to guide you through this as well. All right. However, now this is that you have to actually pay attention. Since the process is different, which it tackles the main aspects earlier on in research, you need to have an open mind. Okay, you need to put your existing knowledge of research to the side for the time being only. Okay, if I have this workshop, if you come to my workshop for 3 days, just only for 3 days, I'm asking for 3 days only. So you go through that process, then later on you come back and you take back your original knowledge and you compare and contrast, and you will see, okay, how it works. Because if you still have that the mental set of doing research like the normal method, it's going to be a little bit challenging, harder for you to actually accept this method. Okay. So words can inspire, thoughts can provoke, but only actions truly bring you closer to your dreams. So I've been saying words normally in this session. If I have face-to-face sessions like this, after this, I will start to have some practical sessions with students. I will get them directly involved with my activities. And normally it will last from 9 to even maybe 4 in the afternoon. But students normally are awake up, it's even difficult for me to go step up from the class. Normally they will want me there still. And normally I'll be there for about until 6 o'clock in the afternoon. So when you actually get engaged with doing your assignments, you won't feel that time is moving quick. You'll feel that time is really passing by so quickly. So, but the drawback here is that this is online, so I can only share this through my slides. So you have to bear with me. We'll go through this together, inshallah. Now, this is the normal research process that we go through. So let's review this a little bit. Normally, I ask students to actually go through this. Okay, what's the first thing that you need to do in research? And we'll do this together and discuss this together one by one. And eventually, the students will list it out something like this. Okay, so definitely, of course, the first thing you need to identify the problem, identify the topic. Okay, do a little bit of literature within the area, identify the gaps. Okay, identify the questions and all that. All right, you need the theory, model, hypothesis, data collection, and sometimes the process is even longer than this. Now, okay, pay attention to this. This is gonna start to get a bit different now. Okay, So look at the stages back again. Okay, we're gonna have a look at the stage, but I want you to do it is to pinpoint the heart of research. Okay, remember one of my objectives that I highlighted in my earlier screen, the first screen there, is to actually reveal the heart of research. So let's go back here. So Bella, can you please unmute for participants? Maybe perhaps anybody want to say anything here? Which among these 11 steps, which one do you think is the heart of research?
Sure. So guys, if you can unmute yourself for a moment, that you can answer the questions from the speaker.
So let's try to make this a bit more engaging rather than me talking only, right?
I think it's fine.
Anybody
Number one, doctor?
Number
Hello,
one,
doctor.
definitely identifying the problem is very, very important, especially for not applying for research grants. For your information, okay, research problem is the thing is the one that they really want to have a look at nowadays for research grants. Okay, definitely is important. Good try.
Number 4, maybe, Victor?
Number 4. Okay, identifying the theories and the variables is getting closer.
I think it's conceptual model.
Wow. Okay, we're getting there.
Yes.
For me, I think number
It's
three.
point.
Okay, the person who mentioned just now, conceptual model. Can you please elaborate that a little bit? Just a little bit, a few, maybe 1 or 2 sentences there.
Because it builds your whole paper, because your whole work is based on the what you want to do, based on the concept in your mind. I mean, for the study.
Very good. Very good.
Yes, it also, Doctor, it also clarifies the variables, including the moderators, which we are talking about now.
Very good. So I can see you guys are quite experienced in doing research. Just simply by looking at your conceptual model, you will know what's going on, right?
Yes.
The whole thing is inside there. Of course, you have to go a little bit deeper to understand the issues and all that. But basically, the main objective of the study is to look at the relationship between variables. Okay, the answer is number 6. The answer. Okay, Bella. Bella.
Okay, sure, doctor.
Okay, the
Sorry. Doctor, sorry.
Doctor, please unmute.
Doctor, please unmute yourself.
Accidentally you've been unmuted. You've muted.
Doctor, can you unmute yours?
all right.
Sorry.
Okay, so it goes like that, right? Every time you have to mute, then have to unmute me because you mute everybody, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right, the answer is actually number 6. Okay, but number 5 can come together as well, right? Your research hypothesis is the one which you can actually explain the whole thing about your studies. But of course, to have it in visual form, all right, the best is to you can actually see the hypothesis within your conceptual model. So actually number 5 and 6 comes together, but actually according to Brian, okay, he focuses on research hypothesis only. Okay, for me, I'm the one who actually brought to Brian. Okay, Brian, we need to have something that's more visual for examiners to look at as well, rather than sentences. So that's why I introduced them with conceptual model. So he agreed with that, and then actually it comes together nicely, those two. Just to tell you a little bit of my experience with Brian, and he actually gave his first assignment to me. I still can remember that. He said, Nick, what I want you to do is go to the library and find me a mathematical model. These are the exact instructions that was given by Brian. And is immediately after he mentioned mathematical model, I can feel all my hair going up. That's it, my PhD. I don't know what's going to happen to my PhD because I'm not very good in statistics. I'm not good in econometrics. So you talk about mathematical models and modeling like that normally is more suitable with economics. Okay, and so I actually asked Brian, what do you mean by mathematical model? Can you explain that a little bit more, Brian? Oh, Nick, don't worry, Nick. It's very easy. What I want you to do is just go to the library, lean on the wall, okay, lean on the wall, and just simply take out the journals on the shelves from good journals, Journal of Marketing and all that, okay, that level. And I don't want you to read anything, just I want you to see the hypothesis structures. I want you to familiarize yourself with the hypothesis structures that you have, that they have, okay, in journal articles. So that's what I did, okay, in 1 whole month. So I was looking at the hypotheses, okay, the sentences, and the only way for you to really understand about this is when you actually compile them together, H1, H2, H3, and so forth. Okay, what we do as researchers, normally we don't compile them together. We work on theories, identify the variables, and start writing up your argumentation leading to hypothesis. So what, according to Brian, no. Just only look at the sentences, not even the variables. The sentence structure in the hypothesis and the patterns inside your hypothesis. And he asked me to, okay, show me 3 models that you like best. Out of the 8, which one do you like best? Okay, which 3 that you like best? So we discussed the 3, then eventually we decided on 1, which is the best one. Okay, so I'm gonna key IV this a little bit. I'm gonna show you a little bit, okay, how this works and how a hypothesis is gonna be related to your research objectives, to theories, okay, to your literature review later on in my slides towards the end of my talk later. Okay, but let me continue with my slides. So the answer is research hypothesis. Bear in mind, this is one method. Maybe there are other methods there outside, somewhere in the sky. Maybe some other researchers and professors have their own unique methods of doing research as well. But this is only one, okay? I'm not trying to convince you to say, okay, this is the best. No, it's just only one method, an option for students actually to go through, and for researchers also to get published much quicker and faster in good journals, inshallah. So as I mentioned to you just now, the hypothesis, inshallah, determines almost every aspect of research, from your research questions, the gaps, the literature review, the methodology, even up to your data analysis. Okay, I can only review, definitely I can't cover this in these 2 hours. You have to go through the workshop for you to understand this whole process. And definitely the questionnaire is there as well, right? So does this mean that you can skip actually all this? The normal process of doing research? Okay, that's what I did for my PhD. And for all my journal articles, okay, I straight away work on my hypotheses. Okay, because the pattern and the quality of research, technical aspect of research lies within your hypothesis structure, right? So that's going to be the cherry that's going to share you after this as well, right? So focusing on your hypothesis will significantly minimize mistakes throughout your process. So a lot of PhD students, that's why I pity a lot of PhD students who actually go through the first year, second year, sometimes even up to 3rd or 4th year, they have not been able to actually come up with a proper research proposal and defend the thesis. So I feel there's a need for me to actually go out there, but I've been sharing and helping students in my faculty. So I've decided, okay, to have to go out from UKM and share this with other students from other universities as well. So I have a good communication with a company outside there. It's called GradX Academy, which actually a Center for Research Training and Excellence, and they've been helping me a lot in promoting this technique to other students. In fact, they are the one who actually contacted Bella about this as well. Not me directly, or Bella contacted, no, GradX Academy. Okay, you actually contacted her and said, Dr. Nick, do you want to share with students in UPM? Of course, go ahead. And suddenly all this came about, just within 1 or maybe 2 weeks like this. Okay. So again, this is the one here. The conceptual model actually complements the hypothesis, and it is illustrated in the form of diagram, right? The hypothesis illustrated or can be shown in terms of diagram through your conceptual model. Now, all I can control is myself and just keep having a positive attitude. So it sounds a bit weird, okay, that you can actually do a study using a different method. In fact, totally different compared to the normal research process. I don't know of any researcher that has gone through this, because Brian is the one who actually invented this technique. He went back and forth from when he did his PhD from his hostel to the library, and he was trying to find the secret of research. He managed to find it within 2 months. So he's the one who actually created this method. But just stay put, inshallah. I'm going to show you a few more, and hopefully you'll be able to see this a bit more clear. Right? Now, before we go further, if you want to take a break, I'm not going to stop. I'm going to straight away continue and finish up this 2 hours that's been given to me. But if you're tired, if you want to go for a drink or wash your face, go ahead. Okay, but don't leave too long. If you go too long, you're going to miss some of the important points here, right? So now we're getting into the moderators. Okay, conceptual designs using moderators. And this novel approach that Brian has actually works best with moderating variables, with moderating frameworks. And I'm going to give you about 5 minutes here, or maybe less than this. I think you guys are very familiar with research now. I think you can answer this question. What is a moderator variable? And if we have time, can you provide an example of a moderating relationship if we have time? So I'm going to give you about maybe about 3 minutes. Okay. 3 minutes.
All right, so anyone, whoever can respond to this, what is a moderator variable? And if you can provide an example of a moderating relationship.
That would be excellent.
Yes, you can mute yourself to answer.
As well. Yeah, yes, Anik?
I'm just asking the participants that they can answer the question by unmuting themselves.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you. Or they can raise their hands if you have the answer of any of the questions.
Hello, everyone.
Yes.
I think moderator is a variable which makes the strength the relationship between dependent and independent variable.
Which may rank the relationship?
It's a strong it affects the strength of relationship between dependent and independent variable.
Okay, good, very good. Okay, you got the main aspect correct there, where it somehow influences the relationship between your IV and DV, right?
Yeah.
Between your input and output variable.
Yes.
Everybody should know this, as PhD students. So it is a variable which somehow influences that relationship, that affects that relationship, right?
Yes, sir.
A bit different than mediators. Is it a bit different? Okay, let's try. Anybody else there?
Moderator means it strengthened or weakened or none at all the relationship between the independent variables and the dependent variables.
Okay, I like your answer there. Rank, okay, you can do that, because the rank, there's a lot of different meanings behind ranking.
And in strengthen or weaken.
Yeah, the one just now, but the participant just now was very good. She actually managed to identify the IV-DV. That's very, very important. When we talk about moderators, the IV-DV relationship has to be firm. Okay, and it ranks them. So I think you are actually providing an answer which actually clarifies that a bit further. In terms of when you talk about ranking, it either strengthens or weakens, okay, the relationship between IV and DV relationship variables. Okay, very, very right. That's a very exact answer when you talk about moderators. Anybody else want to try?
Can I? Yes. I want to say about moderators as well, because I was using some of the moderators in my research as well. So I think that moderator actually is like a boundary condition between independent and dependent variable, because sometimes independent and dependent relationship is not clear enough without the interference of a conditional variable or a boundary condition, or what we call as moderator variable. So it actually clarifies that how and when a certain relationship happen.
Very good.
Like that. Yeah, thank you.
I think you understand what moderators are.
Thank you.
So so it actually clarifies the relationship even further. Because it's important for you to identify the relationship between IV and DV, which is the what question. What are the factors that will influence the DV? But for you to make a sound decision as a manager, or maybe a strategic decision maker, is to actually understand the when factors as well. How and when. So when you talk about when and how, okay, those are the questions that actually represent or refers to moderating effects, moderators. Okay. Now, I normally have a number of questions there. It's about maybe 5 questions, but I only have 2 very small questions for you guys. Normally I have, for example, what's the difference between moderators and mediators? There's another one. So I'm not going to answer that, but maybe perhaps later on, maybe you can try to find those answers yourselves. What are the types of moderators? There's another question as well. Okay, and a lot of students will normally give 2 types of moderators, categorical and non-categorical. But the one normally that I'm looking for is the 4 types of categories. It's called pure moderator, quasi-moderator, predictor, and homologizer. The homologizer one is a bit tricky because it hides. Okay, there's some other categories of moderators, and you can only detect the type of moderators by looking at your results in your regression analysis. Okay, so that's beyond our class today. Later on, if you want to know the details, okay, you can come to my class. Better if face-to-face, I can show on board straight away. What is the difference between, another example, a question that's important, what is the difference between a moderator and independent variable? How can you actually differentiate whether that variable that you have is more prominent as a moderator or is it more prominent as a predictor, as an IV? Moderators, for information, can work both ways. It can act as a pure moderator, or it can act as it's called quasi-moderate, as a direct effect, and as well as a moderating effect as well. So there are a lot of questions. You can only understand this, and I can only show you this by showing some of the analysis later on when you have a look at your results. Okay, but this is beyond the class.
Yes.
Now, since we're running out a little bit of time, okay, let me proceed further now by giving you some examples of moderating relationships. But first of all, let me clarify that first question there. Okay, what is a moderator? The relationship between X and Y, or IV and DV, depends on your moderator, the Z. Okay, what I want you to remember, whenever you come across moderating effects on only these 2 terminologies, because there's so many terminologies outside there, and students get really confused because some of the terminologies are quite highly academic. Okay, but I want you to remember only this 2, which were actually covered in your answers that you provided just now to me. Number 1, depends on. The relationship between X and Y depends on a certain condition, which is your moderator. So the word depends on, every single time. Okay, when you see something and then suddenly you say, okay, no, I don't think so, it depends on. Okay, it shows, okay, that the variable that you're trying to actually describe is actually a moderator variable. Every single time you use the word depends on, refers to a moderator without you realizing it. Okay, so after this, whenever you look at moderating hypothesis or any journal articles, sometimes it's going to be very hard for you to understand the moderating hypothesis. But what I want you to do is actually replace the words there with depend, strengthen, or weaken. Okay, and the second one just now, of course, the answer was on the spot, on the dot, which is strengthen or weaken. The relation between X and Y can be strengthened or sometimes weakened, okay, based on that particular moderator variable that you have. Now, these are some of the other terminologies. They have maybe about 10 different terminologies in academia that refers to moderators: conditional factor, contingency variables, environmental fit variables, organization fit. Okay, you have subgroup variables. Okay, the last 2 terminologies down there are statistical terms. Number 1 is interactions. Number 2 is called product terms. Those 2 here are normally used when you report your results for your moderating relationships. It's called interactions and product terms. Okay, so let's move a little bit further now. Now we're going to skip with your examples. I'm pretty sure you have your examples in your mind. but because we're running out of time, so let me just clarify this a little bit further with my examples. Okay, the final example here is the most important one. I want you to pay attention to that, the final one after this, right? To clarify things. Now, how would you enhance coffee intake impact on customers' health condition? Coffee intake is the input, health condition is the output, IV and DV. All right. So generally, okay, it is thought that drinking coffee, that you guys like to drink coffee, right? Meaning here, some people like to drink more than 1 cup a day. So this is called enhanced coffee intake, maybe 2, maybe 3 cups a day. So of course, if you hear this, normally we will say, okay, it will have a negative impact, okay, on your health conditions, on your health condition. All right. But recent studies, okay, indicate that, okay, drinking coffee is good for you as well. And it can lead to both, actually, okay, health deterioration, and the other one is health improvement. So for me, I cannot drink coffee. I'm gonna have tremors. So my heart is gonna beat faster. So even with 1 cup of coffee, I'm gonna have some problems sleeping. But my wife, she drinks a lot of coffee, no problem at all. She can sleep instantly at night. She puts her head down, that's it. Deep dream. Okay. So what is the answer? The word here depends on, perhaps it depends on the person's lifestyle. For example, this is one moderator, or ability to break down caffeine. So if the person is very active, for example, so it should be no problem drinking coffee. Okay, it should maybe have some health improvements, similar with ability to break down caffeine. So if the person is not really active, then perhaps, okay, it may have a deterioration effect on the health condition, and so forth. So this is one example of a moderating relationship that happens in our daily lives. For the time being, I'm just only going to give examples that we are familiar with. So, my objective is for you to understand what moderators are and how they how they actually interact with other variables. But when we get to the serious stuff, definitely we have to go into academic studies, and definitely we have to show you some real examples of moderating relationships using academic variables in practice and so forth. I'm just using the normal examples for you to understand. Now, let me clarify things. So this example maybe still a bit confusing. Let's come up with another example, which is directly related to most PhD students. And in this example that I'm going to give you lies the secret of research, which will get you into the Q1, Q2 journals, inshallah. All right. How would hard work at doctoral level impact on the candidate's ability to graduate on time? 3 years, right? Although I'm not fond of this, but a lot of universities are actually gearing towards this and expecting this amongst the PhD students. I'm going to give this example to you. So hard work is your IV, graduate on time is your DV. Now, what I want you to pay attention is at these 3 levels: the cake, icing on the cake, okay, and the cherry on top. This is the main event that we're going to have today. Is about this. So again, the secret lies within this, lies in the model and hypothesis, okay, and it's actually the cherry. That's the secret. Now let me show you this. Oh, sorry, dah keluar awal dah. Can I present using this one now? Okay, so we're gonna move slowly now. So differentiating the cake, icing, and cherry, we got this relationship: IVDV, hard work, graduate on time. Okay, now of course, if you have past research experience, inshallah, this relationship will strengthen or weaken. It's gonna strengthen, right? The relationship between hard work and graduate on time. Similarly, okay, you're hardworking at one point, but at the same time you are committed to your objective, okay, of getting your PhD, committed to your time, okay, committed to your studies. So definitely this will also have a positive impact or strengthening impact, okay, between hard work and graduate on time. Clear, right? Of course, there are so many other variables that will strengthen this impact as well. I'm just only showing you 2. Okay. And this is essentially the cake, meaning that you have your framing is done, is complete already. Okay, meaning that if you're going for a PhD, inshallah you can get your PhD with this. All right. For a journal article, it depends. If you're going for a top journal article, that's not going to be enough. Okay, because this is just only the cake. It's there. It's already a cake. You can eat the cake. Okay, we're full with the cake. But now we need more than the cake, which is the other variables. For example, financial constraints. Okay, how is this going to impact on the IVD viewership or part-time studies? Okay, you have to commit yourself. Daytime, you have to work on a 9 to 5 job. Then after that, at night, you have to commit yourself to PhD, at least 4, maybe to 5 hours a day, even at night. Okay, so it's going to be hard for you. If you're not able to commit to that 5 or maybe 4 hours after your work schedule, okay, there's a likelihood that you're not going to graduate on time. In other words, it's going to weaken this impact, the impact between your IV and DV viewership. Okay, so you have financial constraints, part-time studies, and have so many other variables. Perhaps that can also have a negative, impact on your IV DV viewership. This is called the icing. Okay, if you have a model, okay, that fulfills the cake, okay, that's good enough. It's good, but if you want to improve it further, it would be good if you can actually find 1 or 2 variables that work the other way around. Okay, meaning that if you're, I'm very sure that you're familiar with reading journal articles. Sometimes you can see that all the hypotheses are positive. The direct effects are positive. The moderating effects are also positive. Okay, you can get published in that journal. But for you to get published in top journals, you need to go beyond direct and one directions. You can provide 1 or 2 directions. Okay, in the other manner. Okay, you have most of your positive, but maybe you have 1 or 2 which is negative. Excellent. So this is called the icing. So you have the cake and you put the icing on top. It looks nice. All right. So these 2 are the criteria. For me, I would normally, for my PhD students, okay, I would ask them, okay, to at least fulfill this part, the icing as well. You don't have to have too many, the negative ones. Maybe 1 or 2 should be enough out of, for example, maybe 10 hypotheses. Now, this is where the cherry lies. So I'm going to give you these 2 examples. Normally, I will ask students to come up with some other examples. But okay, Bella, can you unmute now? Let me discuss with you guys now.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, let me...
I'm unmuting. Yes, now people can unmute themselves.
I still can talk, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Number of supervisors. What do you think? Is this going to strengthen or is this going to weaken the IVD viewership?
It depends.
It depends.
Because if the supervisors are on the same page, if not, it's going to be hard.
Okay, what you're mentioning just now is moderator upon moderator. This is called three-way interaction. But basically, we're just going to discuss on two-way interactions. Okay, and see if you're a very hardworking person, okay, and you have a lot of supervisors, what do you think is going to be the result? Is it going to strengthen the impact or weaken the impact? For example, okay, you go to your first supervisor, you're a very hardworking person. Okay, the supervisor is very happy. You go to the second one, okay, you're a hardworking person as well. You fulfill all the requirements of what the second supervisor asks you to do, and the second supervisor will be happy as well. But sometimes there's going to be up to a point where the first and second or third supervisor going to have some disagreement or a little bit of misunderstanding. So what's going to happen? Okay, it's going to slow down your process. So definitely, it's going to be hard for you to graduate on time. That's one argumentation. Now, another argumentation is that if your supervisors are clear, your first supervisor, okay, knows, okay, he or she has to be the leader. And then your supervisor also understands that his position. Okay, the second supervisor cannot overtake the first supervisor. That's okay. Okay, meaning that it's clear the roles of supervisors, and it's gonna somehow strengthen the impact. Now the thing is that we don't know the answer. Is it gonna be positive? Is it gonna strengthen, or is it gonna weaken, or is it gonna be negative? Okay, similarly, working from home. Are you guys working from home? Most of you guys are coming to office. Well, of course, not now, before the COVID. Which one do you think you feel better, working at home or going to office? Committing yourself.
A mixture of both, maybe.
Yes, it's a mixture. Some are you are comfortable with
Not working is good.
Not working at all.
Going to the office will be better.
It has to be both.
You have to have a combination of both, right? Sometimes outside, sometimes inside. Right?
What you're working on.
Okay. So now we don't know the answer. Is it going to be strengthened, or is it going to weaken the impact? Basically, of course, sometimes you have the answer is going to be both. But say we have, for example, a sample of 500 PhD students, and we do a study on this, and we manage to find that working from home will weaken the impact, will have a negative impact. That will be an interesting finding, because a lot of examiners, a lot of academics will think that it's going to somehow, even students, maybe strengthen the impact, similar with number of supervisors. Now, the thing is that when you talk about, okay, those type of variables, those are the variables that are less obvious. You don't know, it's not that clear, okay, whether the result is going to be positive or negative. You see the positive ones, that's obvious. The negative ones, obvious as well. Okay, and there's going to be no really urgent need for you to actually really understand those two. The ones that really stands out for examiners to see the result, okay, is the one on top, on the bottom there, which is essentially the cherry on top. Now, again, with cherries, you don't have to have many cherries. 1, 2, good enough. If you have too many cherries, of course, it's like you're playing around with the model and all that. Just only a few should be enough. And if you have combination, a variability of hypotheses, which are positive, some are in a negative direction, and some variables are not, okay, clear, those are the ones. So remember my story with Brian? It took me 10 months to find my cherries. It's not easy for you to find your cherries. For your information, for my PhD, I had to develop 4 different models. Normally for a PhD, you have to develop only one, right? So that's why it took me so long. But I was not informed about the cherry by Brian. And I was showing him, I don't know, countless number of variables and models. But one day he came, and when I showed to him, he took his pen and he knocked his table. Nick, you got your model this time. So I was amazed. I was just like, what happened? Why was Brian so happy? So I went back to my office and I opened up, okay, and I compared all my other variables, okay, to the variable that I have run right now. And I discovered that the variable that I had in terms of that, if you put it in a hypothesis, can work both ways. We don't know what's actually the answer. And these are the ones that examiners are looking for, okay? And these are the ones that will have most significant impact on your research. Now, you might have a question. When you develop a hypothesis, of course, you cannot show both positive and negative, meaning for the cherry. You have to go either one based on previous studies, literature, argumentation, which one actually is more revealing. So perhaps in your hypothesis, you go for a positive one, for example. And working from home, you put a negative one. It makes it more interesting, but of course, based on the literature. Whatever the result comes out, whether it be positive or negative, this is something that I want to share as well with PhD students, is that normally your hypothesis is either supported or rejected, right? Supported or not supported, okay? The hypothesis there for the cherry, though it works like that, it can be supported or not supported. But for me, if I have a journal, a paper that I work on, my hypothesis is positive, but the results come out negatively significant. What I do not use the word support or reject. I use the terminology is called refuted. This is something that not many know. Okay, and among PhD students. So I think it would be good for you to maybe perhaps discuss with your supervisor which terminology to use. But I prefer to use the word refuted. Refuted means that it refutes your original hypothesis in a significant statistical manner. And what you want to do is, if I have a refuted result, I will normally celebrate that result. Even though it does not support my hypothesis, it refutes my hypothesis, but it is a very, very important and significant finding. And normally I will really polish up that finding, even though it does not support my hypothesis. In other words, refutes my hypothesis. So that's something, addition that I would like to add to this as well, particularly among PhD students. And to get into top journals, you discuss along that line as well. Okay, so that's it. You know the cherry, you know. Alhamdulillah. We'll reserve the Q&A. Maybe you might have some questions later on. We can come back to this, but allow me to finish up my slide. So the cherry looks good on the cake. You have the cake, icing, and cherry on top. That's it. So it complements your what is this? Your tea and cookie session, inshallah, by having the cake, a plate of cake in front of you with the cherry on top, inshallah. Okay, now the two-page PhD is essentially that. Okay, normally I'll actually draw down and write down this too, but I'm just going to show it now. One, you have your conceptual model, which is this one here, your conceptual model. Okay, where you can actually see the relationships, and then the other one is your hypothesis in terms of the sentences. So this is one of the paper that I have which is currently under review in WOS journal. It's been considered for publication. Okay, just a simple one. And this is other hypothesis. It's actually more than this, but simplification, I decided to put on one page. So something like this. So H5, okay, is actually, I put this as actually weakened, okay, the relationship. Possible relationship between packaging attributes and the DV behavior will be weakened when customer innovativeness is high. Okay, so that somehow attracts the reviewers. Okay, but of course you need to have your justifications through proper literature review and all that. Regardless of whatever the results come out, okay, it's still going to be a very, very interesting finding. Okay, strengthen or weaken. And the implication for managers are still there. Okay, now I just want to show you one more here regarding transforming your model, okay, to a simple version, which is like this, to a Q1 journal standard. So you have a model. This is a paper that I'm working on, okay, food packaging. You look at the visual, informative, and functional attributes of packaging and the impact on customer behavior and also the moderators there. Don't worry about too much of that. This is about the design, okay? It looks good already there. You have all your variables, quite a number there. For your information, for a PhD, you should have, okay, minimum 5 variables, okay? 5 variables. So 6, 7, even better. Now, it is the same model. This is the same model, but I increase, okay, the framework in terms of visual attractiveness, making it more academic. Academics, they like this. They like to make things complicated, so we make things complicated. You have to know where to make things complete, when to make complicated things simple. Explanation in class, you have to make complicated things simple as an academician. Later on for you PhD students, you're going to become lecturers. But for journal publications, it's the other way around. You have to make simple things complicated, the other way around. Now, I'm going to show you the bomb. This is the model that I'm actually using for the journal article. Is essentially the same thing. This first one, second, and the third one is the same one as the first one just now. But the way you design your model, the way you draw your model, okay, will have a big impact on the reviewers. So when you see a model like this, it looks highly academic, okay, compared to the first one. It's the same thing, it's the same. And this, even these small things, okay, it seems like they're small, but the impact is big in terms of psychology. So you have, when you talk about research, there's so many things. Research in terms, you need to achieve that standard is one thing. Okay, and then the technical aspect, the statistical, the methodological aspect is one thing. But there's another thing that a lot of academicians overlook, which is the psychological impact. And this is what I call the psychological impact of writing up papers, journal articles, including your PhD thesis and so forth. So having a model like this, inshallah, will get the attention of the reviewers and examiners, inshallah. Okay, and automatically they will feel that your research will have reached the standard that is required for a PhD. Of course, model is not enough. You have to work on your write-up and all that. That's the normal thing. But this is something that's missing. So I'm highlighting this up. All right. Now I promised to you, okay, about how the heart of research, the hypothesis, can be related to other aspects of studies, the other stages of the research. So let me just explain this a little bit here. So I'm using this term, this phrase, no more beating around the bush. So a lot of PhD students are doing this. They want to try this. They have a topic, but they started to do the literature review and found that okay, the topic is outdated already, or maybe somebody else have actually working on a similar model, for example, and all that, and it goes back and forth, and it takes years for you actually to come up with a solid version of the model. Okay, but if you use this method, if you focus on the hypothesis structures, all right, initially, inshallah, okay, and you identify your variables that you want to put into your models, inshallah, it's not going to change much. All right, but later on when you develop your questionnaire, there may be some changes here and there, but not much. Now, number one, as an academician, there's always been taught to you that you need to contribute to existing studies, contribute to new knowledge. Now you develop the model. For example, we developed the model just now, and it's original, it's authentic because you developed it. Of course, it's not based on theories, but it's based on logic initially, but you need to find the theory to support it, yes, of course, and selection of the variables. But inshallah, unlikely that's going to be somebody else out there in the world has a similar model like this. Okay, I'm just showing this very, very bluntly. But if you follow the normal, the proper procedure of doing or developing your hypothesis, I have this procedure. Inshallah, we will ensure that it will not overlap whatsoever with any other studies. Okay, in the literature. Rule of thumb is that you can use the same IV. There's so many other studies, okay, that talk about hard working within the area of maybe management, in education and all that. Okay, you can use the same IV, no problem at all. But what you want to do is you find other DVs and other moderators. Definitely, inshallah, it's going to move your literature. It's going to move the existing body of literature forward, inshallah. I'm not worried about that. So far, I have no problem with this. Now, what about literature review? You have your model, it's fixed. Your supervisor, Brian was happy with my variables. I did not even write any literature at all. For your information, 10 months, I worked on my models without any write-up at all for my literature review. And I only had 2 months to go for my proposal defense. In Australia, you have to defend your proposal in 1 year. So I called up Anwar Harzing, Professor Anwar, a prominent professor, okay, who was actually the chair for postgraduate studies in Melbourne University, and in Melbourne Business School. And he said, no, Nick, you have to finish up your write-up. So I was very worried because I didn't have any write-up at all. But because my framework was fixed, okay, even had my questionnaire ready already. So I managed to complete my whole write-up within 1 month plus. And I presented my proposal defense. I got through that, alhamdulillah. So just to mention to you, within your conceptual model, okay, of course, you have to do a literature review for all your variables, of course. But there's one variable that you will have in your model, which is called the focal construct. Usually is the IV, sometimes is the DV, but never, very rare is the, I can say so far, I've never seen moderators as your focal construct. It's usually your IV or IVs, okay? And once you have formed, you have not changed your IV, you know that this is your focal construct. What you do later on is just to collect all your literature relating to your IV and define the gaps in your IV literature. And this is called the synthesis for your literature review for your IV. You do not do a synthesis for your other variables, only for your IV or your focal construct. Okay, there's a systematic method to actually doing this. Later on, maybe a different session I can share next time, inshallah. Okay, what about theory? Definitely, you don't go to your supervisor and show, okay, I managed to develop a model and these are the variables that I selected. I think they're very good. I have it in hypothesis, they are interesting. The so what question, the implication to managers, organizations are very pressing. The supervisor will come back to you immediately, say, what theories are you using? Do you have a theory for your model? I don't have a theory yet. It's going to be thrown off. Okay, so definitely you need to have a theory. Okay, when you talk about academic research, right? But the way I do my study, I normally work on the model first based on predicted relationships, based on reality, based on practice first. Then I will find the theory to support. And you can actually simply find that theory in your main literature review or the synthesis for your focal construct, for your IV. It's there already. Okay, now for your information, in marketing alone, there are more than 320 theories. Don't tell me that even one theory you cannot use for your model's development. Inshallah, there's going to be a theory that you can actually use for your model. Okay, so it's just a matter of selecting theories that somehow relates to your model and your variable selection. And inshallah, when you read your hypothesis, they're all interesting. The variable selections are good. Inshallah, okay, it will be fine. So that's how it works. It works backwards rather than the normal process. Again, you have to have an open mind now, right? Even analysis can be determined just by looking at your hypothesis. All right. Now we have all this discussion going on. The PLS SEM is better than SPSS regression analysis. It's not a matter of which is better. It's a matter of which is more suitable to be used. Okay, for your information, if you have moderators, okay, the best method of analyzing moderators is through SPSS. Okay, you can actually use it through PLS SEM as well, no problem at all, but I have a lot of experience going through that. And the results between the two are different. Particularly if you have multiple interaction effects, if you have multiple moderators, okay, and somehow SPSS is more compatible with this, all right? PLS SEM is more compatible with mediating effects, all right? So all my papers, my journal articles, okay, have been written and analyzed using regression analysis, using SPSS, hierarchical correlation. I use slope analysis and all that. No problem until now, no problem publishing, inshallah. Can still be published using this old method, but stable method, right? SPSS. Now, even the question and objectives, okay, can be answered by simply looking at a hypothesis. For example, visual packaging attributes will be possibly related to customer interest. The IV, okay, the moderating. No, this is the IV DV relationship only, all right? This is your hypothesis, and we're gonna develop your research objectives from this to examine the effect of visual packaging attribute on customer interest. Now, the final one, which is actually the question: does visual packaging attribute have an effect on customer interest? So you can actually develop it the other round by looking at your hypothesis, and you go backwards like this, and the end result I mentioned to you is exactly the same. Okay, they are not interested in the process or how you actually wrote up your thesis. They just want to see this. Inshallah, if it's fixed, if it's good, then it's good. So I have more than 40 participants who sat in my workshop, publishing in top journals. Alhamdulillah, so far managed to assist some PhD students, and a lot of PhD students have actually graduated using this approach. So I was the head of doctoral programs for 3 years, and though a lot of the students are not my students, but I've taught them, and when I sit in the Viva, I can see that they've actually used the same thing, inshallah, a lot of them. So it's been very, very helpful with GSB students. now I'm very happy, inshallah, more than happy to actually share with you as well. This is just only the preview, some of the basic principles. But in order for you to understand the process, you have to go through it, okay, step by step. There's just a lot more, a lot of other secrets that that I can share with you, inshallah, throughout that 3-day workshop that normally I conduct once a month. Okay, this is a model developed from one of my students, not my PhD student, a finance student who sat in the class for about 3 days, and he came up with this model, and we published it in one of the top ISI journals, the Service Industries Journal. I think impact factor is about 1.7 now. Okay, this is another one. Amin Ansari, one of my this is my PhD student. He published 5 papers with me. And for your information, he worked on papers throughout his, he did his PhD for 5 years. So he was working on papers and he did not work on his PhD. So I had to put a stop to him. So he published 5 papers with me. I said, I mean, you need to concentrate on your PhD now. So he only took 1 year to complete his PhD after publishing 5 papers with me. So this is his first paper. And then he sat in my 3-day workshop. The Review of Managerial Science. This is a top ISI journal as well. This is a premier journal. Okay, I think Q1 is Journal of Retailing and Consumer Service. If you're in the marketing, inshallah, you should know this journal. It's one of the top journals. Impact factor, I think, is close to 3. Okay, and we developed the model before even looking at anything else. We developed the model first. But of course, there are certain techniques, procedures that you have to go through. Okay, this is another student of mine and recently published back in 2018, I think, Journal of Nonprofit Public Sector Marketing. Okay, immediately got accepted. 2 months only. Okay, minor correction, within 2 months it got published, alhamdulillah. Okay, this is another journal that been accepted. ISI as well, Word of Science. Okay, European Journal of Institutional Management. This is about rollout strategies, international rollout strategies. This is the DV, and these are the moderators that we decided to use. Got published, alhamdulillah. This is one from UPM. Okay, this one also got published in 2 months. My student actually sent it out, then minor correction, alhamdulillah. This is another one, and I have plenty more. Okay, under reviews. This is under review now. This is another one. Okay, this is the most complicated model. Okay, with Najib. I'm the second author there. All right. So just imagine examiners, when they see this model, definitely it captures their attention already. Okay, then of course, the write-up has to be good. Okay, the theory has to be there and all that. There are control variables as well. And this one here was developed recently. I had one workshop about 3 weeks ago, and they developed this model in just 1 day. 1 day only. Again, with the proper procedure, I have to guide students to go through this. Okay, and apart from that, I have some books as well. This is one chapter in a book. This is how the model looks like. All right, and this is one of the letters of acceptance. Inshallah, you'll be very happy to get accepted in this type of journals. Okay, these top ones, right? I'm pleased to inform you that your paper has been accepted for publication. Okay, in the Journal of Retailing Consumer Services. It's a very good one. Okay. So I don't want this to end here. Okay, in this just only 1 or maybe 2 hour sharing session. If possible, okay, I would like to assist you further, inshallah. And the first thing that perhaps maybe that I would like to maybe recommend is to buy one of my book. Okay, one of the book, which is on a hands-on manual on the novel research approach. Okay, a hands-on manual to realistically master 3 years of PhD in publication knowledge in 3 days, inshallah. I've been doing this many times already. 3 days. If people hear this is not logical. It's not possible to do this. But inshallah, If you buy the book, inshallah, you will see the process. Okay, how it actually can be done. All right. Even though you're maybe not 100% agreeable with my method, doesn't matter. It is compatible. It can be used with the normal research method. It's just only the method for you to properly do a literature review, how to do develop a proper questionnaire, how to actually focus on your model and hypothesis. There's a lot of things that is still hidden among academicians. And this book, inshallah, will reveal that. Now for this session, inshallah, okay, original price 120. If you want to buy it, you can get it for 80 ringgit only. Contact Gradex. Okay, you can snap this, and if you're interested, inshallah, you contact the person in charge here at Gradex Academy. You can buy this book, inshallah. So apart from that, I would be happy for you to request you guys to actually share this information with other friends and students, inshallah, to help as many students and people as possible, right? And I have also the 3D workshop, which I normally conduct once a month. And in the workshop, it's actually a test-based learning method. I show you how to actually do it. Okay, learning by doing. And I normally don't have individual students. I normally put them in groups, so it works really quick. I've tried before that with one student. 15 students, each one with one project is going to be hard. Normally, I will put them in a group with 3 students. It's going to run very, very quick, inshallah. Okay, and of course, don't worry about the quality of or standard of the research. Is going to be high, and I'm going to cover the whole thing. Okay, the complete thing, and through practical applications, and we'll try to publish something out from either a research book, maybe or a journal. Okay. So for contact details about the workshop, in terms of the fee and date, please contact Gradex Academy at this number, and we'll try to make this happen, inshallah. Try to help as many as possible. Okay, so these are some of the topics. There's a lot that I want to cover in the book or in the workshop, but these are just some important ones. First of all, the hypothesis again, since we understand that hypothesis is the heart. Okay, I'm gonna reveal to you, okay, how to actually develop this unique hypotheses. And for your information, just to reveal a little bit, there are only 10 methods of writing moderating hypothesis. Only 10, no matter how good you are. Okay, if you combine, for example, if you take maybe 1,000 journal articles in good journals, and if you want to group them up, this is only going to be 10 methods for you to writing up moderating hypothesis. I'm going to show you how to do that. And it's important for you. There's an implication why you need to know this. Okay, if you take the workshop, it's going to be revealed. There are a lot of concerns when you talk about moderators. Okay, but inshallah, there are ways for you to overcome them, to minimize the concerns. Inshallah, this is one thing. Finding your topic is, for some students, going to be very hard for them. They take maybe even 1 year to find a topic, but we can do this in 30 minutes, inshallah. Okay, variables and some others. Confirming your study, the 4+1 formula. Okay, this is the thing. Remember I mentioned to you when Brian was happy. Okay, he knocked this table. Okay, that 4+1 formula, I'm going to review with you. If you have that form, inshallah, you will be able to find, if you're good at writing, you'll be able to write up your proposal in 2 months, inshallah, because everything is fixed. You have everything, it doesn't change anymore. And then the literature review, how to do a proper synthesis and all that. Okay, the syntax altogether, inshallah. In the book, it'll be revealed. It's not a book where you have to read and read. It's more, it's like it's like a workbook. Basically, it's my slides. It's not almost like this, but it is not too heavy for you to do. But there are certain instructions that you have to fulfill, and inshallah, if you manage to go through them, you'll understand the technique. Okay, I am not a product of my circumstances. I'm a product of my decisions. So, are we here? Okay, decision is in your hand. I have the technique. I'm very happy and willing to share with you. So it's up to you if you want to actually take this to the next level. So we'll leave this to the graduate student club. If you are interested, maybe we can conduct maybe an additional workshop for this. Okay. Definitely sharing session is going to be too short. I'm going to be more happy to share this, the whole thing, the whole process with you. Okay, that's it from my side.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much, Doctor.
I managed to finish within time frame.
Yeah. All right. So this the sharing session like so amazing, and I can see that all the participants are basically widely open the eyes, and they are not sleepy at all. Maybe because of the topic looks yummy or something.
Oh.
Yeah. So all right. So basically, thank you so much, Doctor, for the sharing session, and especially for this, for the sneak peek of the fundamentals of novel research approach, which is the latest research technique. So without any further, I would like to invite my friend Nusha Fiza for the Q&A session.
Shafiza, we cannot hear you. Can you unmute?
Okay. Mine is unmute already.
Yes. No, doctor. I'm not talking to you. I'm Dr. Noor Shafiza. Yeah.
Okay, genau.
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Okay, so we had such a fruitful presentation from our beloved associate Professor Dr. Muhammad Hazrul just now about the moderators, and then and there are a few questions that been shared in the chat box. So I will read it for you, Doctor.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so the first question is, Doctor, may you suggest some references for moderator? That's the first question.
Okay. In terms of the categories of moderators, there's an article on that. Let me see here. I'll get back to, I think, to Bella, to maybe Almir. I can't remember exactly that article, but if you're interested in the categories, but I do not actually suggest that you go through that because it's going to be hard for you to understand. But what I can explain to you is that if you want to look at moderating hypothesis and journal articles, there's a lot outside there. It's just a matter of you trying to find those journal articles that you are familiar with first. That meaning that when you read them, you can understand them, because there are some journal articles that are so difficult for you to understand. And definitely, I would not advise you to do that. Go and find one journal article that has a moderating framework and try to understand, okay, the story inside the journal article, how they introduce, right, the introduction, okay, how they develop the model, the hypothesis, argumentation, how they report the results for the moderators. Basically, what I can tell you based on this almost after 12 years of experience after my PhD, is that it's all almost the same thing. Okay, meaning that the way they write up the argumentations for hypothesis, there's a certain pattern. If you manage to understand that, inshallah, it's almost the same. It's a matter of you trying to find those I call this the blueprints for writing up for you to understand. If you can manage to get maybe 1 to 3, no need to have too many, but find those articles that you can understand. If you cannot understand, it's no use.
Okay.
From a good journal, definitely.
All right.
From WOS.
Okay, so can we proceed to the second question, Doctor?
Boleh, before that, saya sambung sikit ya.
Okay, sure.
A bit more here. When I did my PhD, Brian actually did not allow me to look at any other student thesis. My references were all journal articles. So, and he calls them the blueprints. And in fact, for your information, he really, keeps them. The good one, the best one. I remember entering the room once, and he actually has so many journal articles on his shelves, but he has one steel, I can see steel closet that he has. The peti besi. Normally in steel peti besi, you actually put money inside there, millions of ringgit inside. No, for him, no. He opened up the steel box, and he have the best journal articles that he managed to actually collect. And when I wanted to write my introduction, he took up one. Nick, this article is suitable for you, okay? And this is your blueprint for your writing up for writing up your introduction. So for Brian, he actually asked me to refer to journals only. I was not allowed to look at thesis, only journals. But now with my students, I normally ask students to look at thesis as well when it comes to issue and problem statement. Because, for example, journal articles, sometimes you will not be able to understand the issue in depth. So you have to definitely refer to thesis. Okay, when you talk about theory, it's the same thing. Okay, in journal articles, sometimes even they don't even write anything about theories, but for thesis, definitely, okay, it is a must, and you need to explain your theories that you use and all that. So those two aspects, definitely you have to look at thesis as well. Other than that, inshallah, you can look at journal articles. Okay, literature review, hypothesis argumentation, and all that. How to report your findings and all that. Okay, what's the second question?
Okay, for the second question, Doctor, can you share about moderated mediation or mediated moderation while using process macro?
Wow, that's beyond my knowledge. Okay, it seems like this a combination between moderators and mediators, and it was vice versa as well. Just now, I heard that, and I can see that a lot of studies now are working towards that, a combination between the two. Normally, I would not recommend students, okay, to combine those two in a model. Okay, if you want to work on a moderator model, go ahead with the moderator ones only. If you're mediating ones only. But recently, I can see there's a pattern which actually combines the two. And definitely, if you combine those two, and I see a lot of PhD students doing that as well. SPSS is not recommended for this. Okay, the best method is through PLS SCM. If you have a combination of those two, the proper strategy for you to analyze it is through PLS SCM. Okay, there's a reason why. Tak sempat saya nak explain ke sekarang ni lah. But basically, it's relating to number of tables reporting in your journal article. Reviewers don't like to see a lot of tables. Okay, SPSS kalau dua-dua you have to report a lot of tables. So it's not that practical.
Alright. Okay. Okay. Is that it, Doctor?
The third
Can we
question?
move to the third question?
Go ahead.
Yes, okay. How do we identify whether our vocal construct is IV or DV?
That was a bit tricky. I can see 80% of the time it's going to be your IV. 80%. Very rare. Sometimes it's going to be your DV. Like the one we had just now. Okay, hard work and graduate on time. Which one is the focal construct? Which one do you think is the focal? Siapa yang tanya tadi? Nak tanya semua tak boleh? I just answered that person just now.
Oh yeah, I'm not sure who asked.
Graduate on time.
Graduate on time.
Graduate on time is the focal construct, which is the DV, which is rare. Normally it's the IV. Okay, for your information, the IV is also your main topic of your of the study as well. So definitely, when I go through my workshop, I will normally focus on the IV first. You need to identify your IV because your IV is your topic, and the IV is the one that you should be interested in. You should do a study that you are passionate about. Okay, and normally it's the focal construct lah, but sometimes it's the DV. You can see it's that gut feel. You when you look at your model, okay, I will ask the students, okay, among all the variables that you have there, which one do you think is the most important variable? And like I asked you just now, immediately you answered the graduate on time. Okay, so you know it's like that gut feel that you have inside. The topic is all about graduating on time. Okay.
Okay. Okay. For the fourth question, Doctor.
Yes.
How can we improve the moderator if the result is weak and not much effect?
Oh, this one here is a bit taboo. Okay, now the issue of moderators. If you attend my workshop, of course, I'm going to explain the concern with the moderators. And one of the main or pressing concern when we talk about moderators is that it's going to be hard for you to find significant results, particularly if you use PLS SEM. If you have one or two moderators, okay. If you have more than two, it's going to be hard. You sit in. I actually run a lot of data as well with my students with both PLS SEM that I compare, and it seems that PLS SEM is not that compatible when it involves more than two moderators. When I sit inside. The Viva is the same story going on as well, and a lot of professors are afraid when they talk about moderators. Okay, if they use PLS SEM. Now, one of them is through actually Justify. okay, using SPSS, because that's the best method. But people say that SPSS is a bit like old-fashioned. What you want to do is to improve it a little bit more, rather than using simply the normal SPSS regression analysis. Increase it a little bit. For example, using moderated regression analysis. Okay, increase it a little bit. For example, another one is called hierarchical regression analysis. Hierarchical regression analysis is specifically for moderators. Okay, and the third level is to use simple slope analysis. That's even a higher level, which I do not normally recommend PhD students to do that. I did that for my PhD. It's a bit hard. Now, coming back to that question just now, how can you improve the result? Okay, there are the one I mentioned to you just now is through the tools that you can be used. But there are certain conditions that you can actually predetermine when developing your model. Okay, what you want to do is, number one, when you select your variable, your moderator variable, it has to be a condition factor which you have less control of. Okay, I repeat that, less control of. If you manage to find a variable like that, then inshallah, it's going to be a good moderator. And the results, inshallah, will be good. Inshallah. That's why I normally focus on practice, but you have to understand the criteria of a moderator. Like just now, working hard. Working hard, you can control, right? You can control whether you want to work hard or you don't want to work hard. Now, number of supervisors. That one is predetermined. It's determined to you. Okay, some universities were required to have 3 supervisors. Okay, some may be only 2. But the number, sometimes your first supervisor, suddenly say, no, it's not enough. We are lacking in terms of analysis here. I want the 4th supervisor. So you cannot control, as a student, you cannot control these things. Okay, so if you have a variable which is less controllable, it will be, inshallah, a good moderator. And when you run your analysis, inshallah, the results will be, inshallah, significant. So based on my experience with moderators. Okay.
Okay.
Ada lain pula cara tu, pakai control variable pula. Itu saya tak cerita sekarang lah.
Okay.
Control variables, significant level at p point less than 0.05, you can use higher level. P less than 0.10. Ada cerita lagi, lepas tu pakai control pula. Ada cara lagi lah. Later on lah. Not for now.
Yeah, that one is too long to elaborate here, right?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, so yeah, can I read more questions? Like one more?
Boleh.
Okay, so the question is, what if the moderator were used for the first time?
Okay.
Can I relay on the literature review related to the effect of moderator on independent variable to support or justify?
Okay, what if the moderator is used for the first time? Meaning that not many studies have used this before, maybe.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe. That's one of the good criteria of selecting a moderator, is a moderator that not many people have actually used before. It's actually a good criteria. Okay, definitely, of course, there's going to be some literature on that because you took it from a journal article. There's going to be some write-up that looks at that variable used as a moderator. So definitely you have to go through those articles and see those argumentations. Sometimes they use it as an IV, but you intend to use it as a moderator in your studies. So the way you write that up, your argumentation, okay, inshallah, is about storytelling lah, academic writing, and to support your argumentation. Hopefully, it's going to be challenging because there's some moderators that have been used many times already in other journal articles. It's going to be much easier for you to write those ones. But some students, they prefer to select these unique moderators that has been maybe tested 1 or 2 times before only. Write-ups will be a bit more challenging, but it's going to be more worthwhile, inshallah.
Okay, so I think I'm done reading all the questions. So now I invite the participants to unmute their mic if they want to ask Dr. any questions, so please.
Assalamualaikum, Dr.
Waalaikumsalam.
Is the construct that you show works for both?
Can you repeat the question? Not that clear just now.
Is the construct that you show the conceptual framework and how we can work backward and forward from there. Is it suitable for both paper and dissertation, PhD?
Okay. For me, definitely, like if you work on a conceptual model, whether it be for a thesis or for a journal article, it has to meet the standard that is required in academia. Okay, number one that I mentioned to you just now, okay, is the number of variables. Remember I mentioned to you at least 5 variables, right? If you have 6, 7, better. Okay, for a PhD or for a journal article, okay, if you can meet that criteria, inshallah, that's the basic line in terms of model. But it goes beyond that. You look at the hypothesis, as I mentioned to you, the patterns. Some of them are positive, some negative. One, the cherry, for example. Those are the things that's gonna take time for you to actually get, particularly the variable involving the cherry. Of course, I don't know. My experience in Malaysia is a bit different compared to the one that when I did my PhD in Australia. In Australia, they are very, very concerned, okay, in overseas about your argumentations leading to a hypothesis, meaning that the selection of your variables has to be very, very critical. And not only that, the way you argue the relationships. In Malaysia, I've been sitting in Viva and they're not that really critical when it comes to argumentation of hypotheses. So I can say that in Malaysia is a bit more lenient in terms of that. You go to overseas, your argumentation, your intellectual capacity to argue, okay, particularly involving the relationship between variables is expected. So this is a bit of difference that I can see between countries.
Dr. Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.
I have a question about the structural equation modeling. In that, what are the minimum number of responses need to run a SEM model?
Okay, I'm more familiar with SPSS.
Not a SEM.
I can tell you, it used to be for PLS SEM, it used to be 360.
Minimum.
You need to have more than 360. But nowadays, I hear that, okay, if you manage to get 200 is good enough already.
Because of the current challenge during the COVID, so we have a very difficult to access the respondents in terms of ground level surveys.
Okay.
That is quite challenging to get 360. That's why I am a bit concerned about.
Okay, now I heard that PLS SEM you can run you can actually publish with less than 200.
Okay.
Okay. Now it goes like this. It goes with SPSS minimum 120. Yeah. SPSS minimum 120. Okay, for it to detect patterns in the data. But of course, if you want to publish journal article, if you are using consumers, you are using employees, it is expected to get more than 300.
For example,
if your respondents are managers, okay, it is reasonable for you to get between 150 to 200. Okay, because it's harder for you to collect data with managers. With consumers, it's much easier nowadays. Where for example, you have the online data collection. Even my method, normally I will use consumers because you put it online, you wait maybe for about 3 weeks of that, inshallah, and you put an effort to distribute a questionnaire among your colleagues, okay, through Facebook and all that, you will get that 300. My PhD student got his data more than 500 within 2 weeks only, and he got PhD with that. Online survey. Okay. Hope that clarifies a little bit.
Hello, Doctor.
Okay, Taha. How are you?
Thank you. Fine, thank you, Doctor. Thank you for this literature. Thank you. I want to ask you two related questions, Doctor. When we talk about the cake and cherry and icing,
okay.
When we put the moderating variable, I see that it's one moderating variable. It's not enough, right?
Okay, good question. It is actually not a question of number of moderators. It is a question of number of interaction effects. Now, for example, if you have 5 IVs, 5 IVs, it's not just I had only showed you 1 IV. You can have a different type of model where you have 5 IVs and 1 moderator. Should be good enough already as well. This is called interactions between the IV and the IV and moderating relationship. regardless of the number of moderators. So the first thing that you want to do, my method, is to come up with a model that you want, whether you want many IVs, okay, or 1 or 2 moderators, or few IVs and many moderators. DV is a different story. You can have multiple DVs, no problem, because you will set, when you run your analysis, you will run them separately. Okay. So
thank you,
issue
Doctor.
of interaction.
Can I ask you one more question?
Boleh, yes.
My moderating variable is categorical variable. It's like a type of ownership. So if my ownership is to have 2 types, like we can say like concentration ownership and non-concentration ownership. Is this should be under 1 moderating variable or 2 moderating variable?
Okay, another good question. Is a tricky one as well. For moderators, okay, advisable to use interval scales. Advisable. But if you have dichotomous scales, in your case, dichotomous moderator variables is okay. Meaning that the answer is 2, male, female. You can use that as a moderator. But if you're looking at ethnicity, Malay, Chinese, Indian, Arab, that is going to be difficult for you to run with normal regression analysis. So with dichotomous, meaning that, okay, it's like dummy variable. A and B, when you code it in your SPSS or your PLS 0 and 1, you can use that in your regression or SPSS analysis, no problem at all. Now, your question now is whether to use that as a combination of 1 or you separate them. My suggestion to you is to combine them, but you show those 2 in your model to make it more complicated. But in your analysis, it's analyzed as 1. In other words, the coding is 0 and 1. So if it's 1, the result will be positive. The regression analysis will be positive. Okay, if it's 0, the result for your regression will be negative. There's going to show a negative sign in front of your coefficient matrix score.
Thank you, Doctor.
Beta coefficient score.
Dr. Nick, can I ask a question?
Boleh, Prof.
Okay, about mixed methods. For sample size, for quantitative, what is the ideal size for it? I mean, for qualitative is to the point of saturation. For quantitative side of the mixed method, what is your recommendation?
I have never actually run mixed methods, meaning that qualitative and quantitative, or what do you mean?
Yeah.
Qualitative and quantitative.
Yeah.
For me, if you ask me, I've never done this before.
Okay.
But if you do a qualitative studies, for me, I think you clearly indicate, okay, this is your objective as a qualitative one. Okay, and normally for qualitative, normally the sample size for qualitative is between maybe 6 to 10.
Okay,
it's clear. But if your other objectives, which you focus on the quantitative side, that has to fall within the normal method, within that range of numbers. Normally for journal article, they will expect more than 200. Sample size.
Thank you.
Okay, so the best is to actually make it clear in your objective. Okay, the qualitative part and the quantitative part, so that you can actually justify your argumentation for sample size much clearer after that. Okay,
thank you.
Welcome.
Doctor, I think it's already 7. Is it,
itu
Anik?
sampai ke malam pun boleh ni.
Sampai ke malam.
Seronok.
Betul lah. Alright. If there's any other questions, I think they also can email or contact you directly.
Do you have one-to-one coaching session?
Sorry?
Have one-to-one coaching session?
One-to-one session boleh contact Gradex tu, nanti dia akan uruskan.
Yes.
That's nice. Alright, so I think it's past 7, 3 minutes past 7 now. So this is time for wrap up, I guess.
Yeah, most of the students, they were asking about the contact email of you, so that they can contact you for the workshop or maybe to ask something.
Okay. For the contact email, please contact this number here. This Gradex Academy at this number, or just email to them. Because if you email to me, it's going to be a whole bunch of emails. I have 13 PhD students and have so much work at my faculty as well. So directly email to this contact number. Inshallah, I'll try to fulfill and address your concerns over there as well. Okay.
All right. Okay. Okay. So I guess the issues that has been discussed by Doctor just now really has grabbed the attention of all the participants, of course. So I guess there is no more beating around the bush after this.
Alhamdulillah. That's very happy for me to hear this.
Yeah, so I hope to have you for the next coming session. If you think that our cafe tea and cookie like worth for you to join or dine in again for the
Pleasure
next
to be here.
session.
Pleasure, inshallah.
All right. I think I will pass. Next, I will pass to Ida Rahayu, our event director. Maybe Ida will have something to share. Maybe. All right. Pass to you, Ida.
Ida is.
Ida, can you unmute?
Oh wait.
Oh, she can't. Okay.
Yeah, because now she can.
Okay, Ida, you can try.
Okay, thank you so much, Doctor. It's such a good, great session. Since Bella already wrap up, I won't take any more time. Just that for the last session, we are going to have the photo session. So, Doctor, if you could please stop sharing the screen so that we can have the, yeah. Okay, and I would love to request all the participants to on your camera so that we can have a photo session. Meanwhile, doctor can start, prepare himself as well. Okay, so I'm going to take 7 shots. So please just stand by so that I don't know which shot you are going to be in. So it starts with, can I start now, Doctor?
Boleh.
Okay, okay.
I'm ready.
A big smile, everyone. Okay, okay, this is the first shot, all right? 1, 2. Okay, the next group 2. 1.
Boleh banyak group
the 7 group, Doctor. It's like we have like 200 participants. Yeah. Okay, group 2, 1, 2, and okay. Group 3, stand by. Start with your Hashim. Okay, 1 and 2. Okay, group 4. Oh. Okay, the last one. Last one will be 1, 2, and 3. Okay, that's it from me. So shall I pass back to Bella?
All right, thank you so much, Ida. All right, I guess that's the wrap up of our session, Tea and Cookies session 4. Thank you so much for all the participants, especially our speaker, and also our all right, so our super special, our dean, Prof. Bani. Thank you so much for joining us also. I think if anything else, Anik?
Yeah, I just wanted to share that so many of the students here, they just contacted me that we want the paid workshop here in UPM as well. So we would be so happy that if you do those workshops here in UPM and give us the opportunity to learn as well. So
yeah, pleasure.
Is it possible?
Get in touch with the Graduates Academy and they will arrange them.
Sure. Thank you so much.
Okay.
All right.
Keep up the good work, everybody.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you so much. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Doctor.
Really nice session. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Prof. Bani.